As Rand watched his side of the road, the feeling grew in him that he was being watched. For a while he tried to shrug it off. Nothing moved or made a sound among the trees, except the wind. But the feeling not only persisted, it grew stronger. The hairs on his arms stirred, his skin prickled as if it itched on the inside. He shifted his bow irritably to rub at his arms and told himself to stop letting fancies take him. There was nothing in the woods on his side of the road, and Tam would have spoken if there had been anything on the other. He glanced over his shoulder and blinked. Not more than 20 spans back down the road, a cloaked figure on horseback followed them. Horse and rider alike black, dull, and ungleaming. It was more than habit than anything else that kept him walking backward alongside the cart even while he looked. The rider's cloak covered him to his boot tops. The cowl tugged well forward so no part of him showed. Vaguely, Rand thought there was something odd about the horseman, but it was the shadowed opening of the hood that fascinated him. He could see only the vaguest outlines of a face, but he had the feeling he was looking right into the rider's eyes. And he could not look away. Queasiness settled in his stomach. There was only shadow to see in the hood, but he felt hatred as sharply as if he could see a snarling face, hatred for everything that lived. Hatred for him most of all, for him above all things. A quick tug at Rand's sleeve and a voice pitched low, for his ear alone, distracted him from the older man's talk. "Come on, Rand, while they're arguing, before they put you to work." Rand glanced down and had to grin. Matt Cawthon crouched beside the cart so Tam and Bran and Sen could not see him, his wiry body contorted like a stork trying to bend itself double. Matt's brown eyes twinkled with mischief, as usual. "Dav and I caught a big old badger, all grouchy at being pulled out of his den. We're going to let it loose on the green and watch the girls run." Rand's smile broadened. It did not sound as much like fun to him as it would have a year or two back, but Matt never seemed to grow up. He took a quick look at his father. The men had their heads together still, all three talking at once, then lowered his own voice. "I promised to unload the cider. I can meet you later, though." Matt rolled his eyes skyward. "Toting barrels? Burn me. I'd rather play stones with my baby sister." "Well, I know of better things than a badger. We have strangers in the Two Rivers. Last evening..." For an instant, Rand stopped breathing. "A man on horseback?" he asked intently. "A man in a black cloak on a black horse, and his cloak doesn't move in the wind." Matt swallowed his grin and his voice dropped to an even hoarser whisper. "You saw him too? I thought I was the only one." "Don't laugh, Rand, but he scared me." "I'm not laughing. He scared me too. I could swear he hated me, that he wanted to kill me." Rand shivered. "I don't know about hating Rand, but he was scary enough anyway. All he did was sit on his horse looking at me, just outside the village, but I've never been so frightened in my life. Well, I looked away, just for a moment. It wasn't easy, mind you. Then when I looked back, he'd vanished. Blood and ashes. 3 days it's been, and I can hardly stop thinking about him. I keep looking over my shoulder." Matt attempted a laugh that came out as a croak. "Funny how being scared takes you. You think strange things. I actually thought, just for a minute, mind, it might be the Dark One." He tried another laugh, but no sound at all came out this time. Rand took a deep breath. As much to remind himself as for any other reason, he said by rote, "The Dark One and all of the Forsaken are bound to Sheol Ghul, beyond the Great Blight. Bound by the Creator at the moment of creation, bound until the end of time. The hand of Creator shelters the world, and the light shines on us all." He drew another breath and went on. "Besides, if he was free, what would the Shepherd of the Night be doing in the Two Rivers watching farm boys?" "I don't know, but I do know that rider was... evil. Don't laugh, I'll take an oath on it. Maybe it was the dragon." "You're just full of cheerful thoughts, aren't you?" Rand muttered. "You sound worse than Sen. My mother always said the Forsaken would come for me if I didn't mend my ways. If I ever saw anybody who looked like Ishamael or Agenor, it was him." "Everybody's mother scared them with the Forsaken," Rand said dryly, "but most grow out of it. Why not the Shadow Man while you're about it? Matt glared at him. I haven't been so scared since... No, I've never been that scared, and I don't mind admitting it. Me either. My father thinks I was jumping at shadows under the trees. Matt nodded glumly and leaned back against the cartwheel. So does my da. I told Dav and Elam Doutry. They've been watching like hawks ever since, but they haven't seen anything. Now Elam thinks I was trying to trick him. Dav thinks he's down from Tarn Ferry, a sheep stealer or a chicken thief. A chicken thief! He lapsed into affronted silence. It's probably all foolishness anyway, Rand said finally. Maybe he is just a sheep stealer. He tried to picture it, but it was like picturing a wolf taking the cat's place in front of a mouse hole. Well, I didn't like the way he looked at me, and neither did you. Not if how you jumped at me is any guide. We ought to tell someone. We already have, Matt, both of us, and we weren't believed. Can you imagine trying to convince Master Alvir about this fellow without him seeing him? He'd send us off to Nynaeve to see if we were sick. There are two of us now. Nobody could believe we both imagined it. Rand rubbed the top of his head briskly, wondering what to say. Matt was something of a byword around the village. Few people had escaped his pranks. Now his name came up whenever a wash line dropped the laundry in the dirt or a loose saddle girth deposited a farmer in the road. Matt did not even have to be anywhere around. His support might be worse than none. After a moment, Rand said, Your father would believe you put me up to it. And mine? He looked over the cart to where Tam and Rand and Sen had been talking, and found himself staring his father in the eyes. The mayor was still lecturing Sen, who took it now in sullen silence. Good morning, Matrim, Tam said brightly, hefting one of the brandy casks up onto the side of the cart. I see you've come to help Rand unload the cider. Good lad. Matt leaped to his feet at the first word and began backing away. Good morning to you, Master Althor. And to you, Master Alvir. Master Bowie. May the light shine on you. My Da sent me to... No doubt he did, Tam said. And no doubt, since you are a lad who does his chores right off, you've finished the task already. Well, the quicker you lads get the cider into Master Alvir's cellar, the quicker you can see the Gleeman. Gleeman? Matt exclaimed, stopping dead in his footsteps, at the same instant that Rand asked, When will he get here? Rand could remember only 2 Gleemen coming into the 2 rivers in his whole life, and for one of those he had been young enough to sit on Tam's shoulders to watch. To have one there actually during Bel Tine, with his harp and his flute and his stories and all. Emmons Field would still be talking about this festival 10 years off, even if there were not any fireworks.